So if you clicked on this video, I imagine it's because you are giving some pretty serious thought to moving abroad. And to be honest, I don't blame you. The way things are in Europe and North America right now, it's getting pretty wild. Cost of living is going up, inflation is on the rise, recession is looming. So wanting to jump ship, wanting to be somewhere else is completely understandable. Since launching this channel back in 2020, I've come across hundreds, if not thousands of people who are looking to make their move overseas. And pretty consistently, folks are fed up. And I know what it's like to be fed up. It's an inescapable feeling that can just dominate everything that you're doing. So I get where you're coming from. There are repeated mistakes that folks are making, which, I can say, just go ahead, do it, run off and make the move. But really, the motivation behind this channel isn't just for you to kind of end up elsewhere, but it's to end up elsewhere in a way that allows you to thrive. Not that it helps you to get there and realize that actually this isn't where you want to be. You don't really know why you're there and you end up coming back home. That is not the goal that I have in mind for you. So let me talk you through the 4 most common mistakes that I see folks making that you can fix and stop doing so that you can use your time most efficiently when planning your move abroad. The first one I'm going to start with, though, perhaps because it seems to be the most commonly asked question, which I think is really kind of back to front, focusing on trying to find a job. Now, trust me, I understand that for many of us, pretty much all of us, how we're going to survive, how we're going to put bread on the table, how we're going to pay for our manicures or whatever else is an issue. Money does matter. But the number of times that I've been asked, how do I find a job overseas? I think that is a mistake to start with that question. And I'll tell you why. Perhaps it's because I'm based in the Caribbean, a region in where there is high unemployment, so the chances of finding a job are few and far between. But actually, I think it's deeper than that. I'm imagining, and I could be wrong, and if this is not you, let me know in the comments. But I'm imagining for those of you who are fully satisfied with your job, who are fully satisfied with the 9 to 5, who love the office politics, who love the whole setup, if you love it that much, you're probably not really going to want to be elsewhere. It's ticking all the boxes for you. You are fulfilled, you are happy, and you're living a life of meaning. For those of you who are thinking of moving, perhaps it's because the setup that you have at the moment isn't working. So if you know that it's not working, why not get clear on what you really want? Why replicate something that hasn't been working for you at home elsewhere? Starting with, how do I find a job? Why limit yourself like that? There are so many ways in which we can earn money online, in which you can rearrange your investments so that you can have passive income. And I think taking the time to explore those opportunities really will put you in a better position to have a plethora of options when it comes to designing your life overseas. We really need to be honest with ourselves about how we want to spend our time here on Earth while we're alive. And if being in an office, doing the 9 to 5 isn't really it, and if you are able to see beyond being defined by your work, what you do for a living, then I really think it can open up such a wide range of options. And as I say, moving, you're essentially throwing everything up in the air. Why not give yourself the option to really be creative as to how those pieces land? The second mistake that I see folks making again and again, and to be honest, there's times that I've actually been guilty of it too. So honestly, this is a judgment-free zone, but it's the focus on quitting. Now, I know what it's like to be somewhere that you absolutely loathe. For me, after I split up with my kid's dad, we moved to the suburbs. We were living in a tiny terraced house, 2-bedroom terraced house with 3 kids, not enough space. And every single morning I would wake up and be like, this is not where I want to be. So trust me, I know what that feels like. But ultimately, it goes back to a question that I've asked many times over these videos, and which I will ask you if we ever meet virtually or in a group session. And that is, are you running from or are you running to? And to be honest, it's not always going to be a binary yes or no. There can be elements of both, but I think it's really clear that you know why you're moving. Because if you are entirely running from a situation and you're moving somewhere else and you're not really clear as to why you want to be there or what you hope to achieve by being there, the chances of that destination making all the difference that you want it to be is pretty slim. And that's why there's a concept that I've talked about of conscious relocation, which means being conscious about who you are, what your purpose is, and how the destination that you're moving to enables you to fulfill and align all of those elements is really, really key. Where the challenge is, or perhaps the opportunity, really is how do you make that move sustainable? How do you move in a way that is efficient in terms of your time and money and resources, so you make a move in a way that really lands in the way that you want it to? There are so many tales of people who've moved, found it exceptionally challenging, realized that it wasn't actually that they wanted, and come back home. There isn't necessarily anything wrong with that if you have that in mind. You're just going to go somewhere, test it out. If it doesn't work, come back. But if you are moving with the intention of staying or with the desire to stay, why not make that possible? Why not make that doable by taking the steps that you need to take to make sure that that actually is the option that you choose? Understanding the end goal really is important. Not understanding why you want to leave. Like, there are dozens of videos that I've made which explain why you want to leave. Pick up a newspaper. It's going to be clear why you want to leave. The cost of living, crime, etc., etc. We get why we want to leave, but understanding what the final goal is, that's where the secret lies. That's the secret sauce. Understanding what your ideal lifestyle looks like, how you'll find and build community abroad, what brings you purpose, how do you find a meaning in life? Those are the sort of questions that you really want to be asking, because those are the sort of questions that really are going to be able to make your lifestyle design sustainable, because you are taking control. You know the elements that you want, and you are taking responsibility for putting them in place, rather than hoping that your destination delivers all of that to you. There's nothing like being away from home and being away from everything that you know to challenge you. Loneliness is a thing. Culture shock is a thing. There are many, many elements to being abroad that won't crop up on Instagram, that won't be one of those kind of like, oh, isn't it cute? I want to be that thing. There are realities that are challenging. So honing in on your purpose, honing in on your end goal, it's going to make all of that stuff survivable. The third mistake that I see people making is focusing on the cost of living. Now, again, how much you spend does define a lot in terms of your quality of life. And for sure, if you are living in the US, if you're living in the UK or many other places, the rising cost of living can be a huge incentive to leave. But being driven by costs in and of itself is not necessarily going to provide you that aha, that yes that you're looking for, because there's so much more to thriving than money, I would argue. There are a number of websites, and perhaps I'll put some links below, that allow you to search for destinations according to cost of living. You can find out how much money you'll likely be spending on rent, transportation, groceries, etc. So you have a really clear idea as to what your life is going to look like in terms of cash money. Also compare the money that you will be spending in one city or one destination against what you would have been spending back home. And that difference can be incredibly attractive. But that can also be a distraction. There are many places that are really, really affordable to live, but is that in and of itself going to deliver what you want? Don't just be distracted by the numbers. Like, build the full picture, the full picture of what you want, and allow money to be a part of that, but not the whole picture. Because I just come across too many folks saying, like, I'm fed up of being in the US, I'm fed up of being in the UK, this is my budget, where can I go? And that is a question to ask, but it's not the question to ask. I think that's the wrong starting point. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments, and I can suggest many other people who you can follow who are more of that mindset, but that's definitely not me. I think in making your exodus, in making your move abroad, to focus primarily on money is a mistake. That might ruffle a few feathers that might not be for you. And if it's not for you, that's fine. Turn off, find another channel, listen to someone else. Our purpose here on earth is so much about so much more than like how much money you're gonna earn, how much money you're gonna save, how much you're gonna put in the bank, how big is the house that you're gonna build. That really isn't it. And I perhaps think maybe there aren't enough people who are having that conversation, and it's a conversation that really does matter to me. And if you are someone that wants to kind of engage with my content, connect, chat, like that 100% is the paradigm that I'm coming from. So I think, yeah, if you're focusing on money, it's a mistake. You might not like that, but I think at some point, a desire for something more is going to crop up, and that's an itch that at some point you might just want to scratch. You might want to scratch it at a point that it's too late, but I think it's always going to be there. And I'm quite unapologetic about that. I'm sorry if it hurts your feelings, but I'm not sorry that I mentioned it. Because I think all of these elements, all of the 3 points that I've mentioned before, ultimately all merge into the main point. Is the biggest mistake that folks are making when it comes to designing their moves abroad is that you're just not being bold enough. You're not being bold enough. I think for whatever reason, for whatever conditioning, societal expectations, family, etc., I think many of us are just playing it too small. You know, but yet you know what it's like not to be happy. You know what it's like not to be fulfilled. You know what it's like to be in an environment that really is devoid of nurture, is devoid of stimulation, is devoid of anything that feels close to fulfillment. And in a way, some of that is about environment, but some of that also is about you. It's this whole, this balance. So why not be bold and ask for what you want? Ask yourself, what is it that I want? Because ultimately, it's only going to be you who's going to be the one who delivers it. I mean, you can chat to me, but I'm not traveling with you. You're the one traveling. It's you, your family, your people, whoever. You're on that journey. So what is it that you want? Be unapologetic about stating it. Like, you've only got this one shot in this lifetime. So put that down on paper. Because I imagine it's not just about money. It's not just about the weather. It's not just about how you spend your 9 to 5. It's probably about a lot more than that. So I encourage my clients to be really unapologetic about going for what they desire, setting those intentions, and lining up the steps that will allow them to achieve those goals, that mission, that sense of purpose. And perhaps the one tip that I can give you for free is to turn off all the distractions, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off the internet, turn off YouTube for a bit. Make this the last video you watch for 24 hours. Escape all the distractions, the stuff that really reminds you about what you don't like. You're clear on that already. Take the time to hone in on what is it you want? What is it that you desire? What is it that brings meaning to you? Because trust me that the return on investment in terms of time spent getting clear on what you want, how you are going to dare to do you, that's priceless, whether you decide to move or not. I think there's so much chatter and nonsense and drama around us that can easily destabilize you wherever you are in the world. But knowing who you are, what keeps you grounded, what makes you feel like you're in flow, that's essential. And if you haven't done that already, let this be the excuse to really just invest your time in getting clear and making sure that you do you in the boldest, most brilliant way possible. And I'm following my own advice too. For those of you who follow this channel regularly, you probably haven't seen me for a bit because I just needed to step back and do me. This channel is amazing. I've loved the way that folks have been checking in on me to see that I'm okay. Big shout out to all of you who got in touch. I love bumping into people in the street who say, listen, I'm thinking about moving, or I have moved because of you. Like, I love that impact. But again, I really need to feel like there's a sense of purpose coming from this channel. And if I don't have anything to say, it's probably because I haven't really been nurturing myself enough and haven't been clear enough on like what my goals are for this. So that's why I've stepped away. That's why I've needed to take time to rethink, regroup, and come back with something that's just going to be a lot more meaningful and much more useful for you. It's sweet that folks watch this for entertainment, but I think there are so many other things that you could be watching for fun. The aim of this channel really is to get you to take action, whether it's making a move, whether it's redesigning your lifestyle, or hopefully a combination of the above. So here's where we're at. I want to help you make changes in your lifestyle, in your journey to get overseas in the most holistic way possible. Earlier this year, I was experimenting with group sessions, folks who wanted to move to Grenada, folks who want to move to St. Kitts and Nevis, and it was so rewarding to see the way in which not only I'm able to serve multiple people at the same time, but to see that sense of community begin to emerge, folks able to connect with each other, to see how linkages can be built, to see how there's scope for collaboration. And it's so genuinely exciting and has so much potential that that's the direction that I want to be able to go down, to be able to help you make your move, to help you get clear on what you want to do, but also build community at the same time, because ultimately there are so few people, I think, who are committed to going on this journey that at times it can feel really lonely. And for you to have that support group, to have a guide, a facilitator is part of it, but to be able to rely on each other and to encourage each other is so exciting. So that's what's coming next. So as a result, at the end of September, I am stopping my one-on-one consultations, and I am offering you guys a discount as a way to say goodbye. I mean, I'll still be here, but just not one-to-one, because it needs to change. There's a link below in the description, so you can book a service if you want to, but also a discount code. Because I think some of you might need it, and now is the time that I could do it. And after that, it's going to be a little bit different. After that, I will be launching an online course with group coaching that allows you to get the information that you need, but also to connect to a like-minded community so you can make actual progress. You can go beyond watching these videos, you can go beyond commenting, but you can actually take action. Guys, I want you to take action. I want to hear like, oh, I'm here. I was there, I'm now here. Whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I want you guys to make progress. That's how I get my reward. That's how I get my joy. And I know that these videos have been useful, but I know that there's so much more that all of us could be doing. And this is where, for those of you with the patience to stay tuned to the end, the opportunity comes. So I've been working on this course. That's why you haven't seen me for a long time. But I really want to make sure that it delivers to folks in the most effective way possible. For those of you who are in a position where you're thinking about moving, I would love to get your thoughts on whether this course would actually meet your needs. And in return, I will offer a one-on-one consultation session for the 10 folks who are willing to come aboard to kind of be my little guinea pigs and let me know how can I make this course really deliver for people, really help them to make the changes that they need. It'll probably take the form of a little group session. We'll have a chat, we'll go through the material, and I'll get your insights as to where it can be improved. Maybe find a way to answer your questions specifically within this course in a way that's going to benefit others too. So that's it. At the beginning, we spoke about mistakes. I've made mistakes. The thing about mistakes is that they're not fatal, they're actual learning opportunities. I've learned from my mistakes. I love the idea of failing forward. And my failing forward is understanding how to hold better space for you guys, understanding how to hold better space for myself, so that all of us can make the progress that we need to build the lives that we really love wherever they happen to be in the world.